Welcome back to this new video. Today I wanted to go over a quote from the Bible that was actually phrased by Jesus. And it was suggested by a member of this channel. They emailed me about this, asking me if I was willing to cover this quote, for example, and maybe some other stuff concerning the Bible. And I said over time, I am always interested in doing it. But I'm going to tell you up front right now, it's probably going to shock a lot of Christians in general. Because religion, no offense, but religion and everything out there in the world, not just Christianity, but other ones, they're pretty strict in how they're being followed by people. And then sometimes when there's a new explanation for something, people just don't want to hear about it. So if you're one of those Christians that has a sort of closed mind, you've been warned. This is just about a cross-reference between Neville Goddard and the Bible, which I found very fascinating based on what he used to describe about the symbolic meaning of scriptures. So if we take that into account, Neville Goddard would simply write in one of his books, Awaken Imagination, that to him, Jesus Christ was symbolic for simply the power of imagination in man, in man's consciousness. Now, if you have that point of view, then taking these quotations, they actually kind of become pretty revealing and interesting on their own way. They actually give you some sort of way to work with this in your own world more and more specifically. So if we take Neville's point of view that the central figure of the gospel was human imagination, and that many of the quotations were in a way phrased by the power of the human imagination, then saying that I am the truth and the light and the way, no man cometh unto the Father but by me, could as well be described as saying that it is through the spiritual faculty of the mind that you discover the way, the truth, and the life that you are, and that there is no other way to come unto the Father but by me. By me meaning the imagination itself. Now here we are saying something that is gonna shock most people that have never considered it from this point of view, but that's what we do over here. We take and study the power of the individual's consciousness in order for the individual to lift themselves up and to set themselves free. Now that's going to be, again, a bit disturbing for most, but to this day many people go to a church and they pray to a statue of what is called Jesus Christ. And it happens every single day almost, or at least every Sunday somewhere in the world, in many places in the world. Over here where I live in Europe, it happens as well. But even Neville would point out that praying to statues is not the best way to go about this. We have to understand the spiritual, metaphysical meaning behind the words. So if I'm going to use my imagination in the right way, it doesn't mean I'm building a fairy tale. It doesn't mean I'm creating some nonsense in my mind that is actually what you could say childish in a way. It's like children can use their imagination in a certain way for daydreams that might be childish to us. But what we want to understand is the power that allows us to do it. Because it is also through that power you can receive the visions of God, as it would be written in the Bible as well. That when deep sleep falleth upon man, then he opens their ears and sealeth their instructions. This all happens when your body is asleep and you have these visions in your consciousness that are happening towards the gateway of imagination. So that's how you will find out the way, the truth, and the life of the universe itself, the spirit of life. So to me, that's what it means. If you take that final line, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. If you change that sentence, but by me, into but by imagination, then suddenly something changes around radically about this whole quotation. Now at first, again, this may make no sense, because if you read the Bible scriptures, you can clearly tell it's written in such a way that we're talking about a person, at least in most of the cases. But in other times, you can actually pretty much perceive that they're talking about a power inside of consciousness that is accessible to every human being. And that's what it means to develop Christ consciousness within you. To develop the conscious awareness of your unity with the Father, with the Spirit of life. That's ultimately what we want to learn to emulate for ourselves, to become aware of. That's how we lift ourselves up, by taking the scriptures and grasping the consciousness that is behind the words that would write this down, that would say and share this information with humanity. You see, it is always fascinating to me to see how people rather sit down and pray to someone outside of themselves and hope to be saved by someone outside of themselves instead of by saving themselves. They almost think it's against the will of God to save yourself. You have to just burn in hell almost, because there's nobody who's going to come and save you. If Jesus doesn't come and save you, then you're going to burn in hell. Well then, again, remember what Neville would say on the matter. The central figure of the gospel, Christ, is your own wonderful human imagination. So then we realize, from that point of view again, we might as well say, yes, we will burn in hell if we don't save ourselves, if we don't use our minds in the right way. You're going to be burning in a hell of your own making, because you don't see how you could lift yourself up out of it. You don't know how to enter heaven all over again, even though it is your consciousness that is the gateway to all of these things. That's really what it's all about to me, when it comes down to this one quotation. It isn't very complicated. It doesn't have to become complicated, but it does become complicated if you take it physically, literally. If you literally take this line and then think of another person that you have to approach in order to get to the Father, well, then you're going to have some issues, don't you? Because where is that person physically speaking? In the flesh. Well, then we would say, or at least many people will say, well, Jesus will come back very soon. You know for how long people have been saying that? He will come back very soon. Well, he never did come back physically speaking, that is. But he can come back within the consciousness of each and every individual right in this very moment. That's what this is all about. Now, I know many people will find that shocking again. I'm sorry if it shocks you, but I have to say it. And in fact, I was warned even by Neville that the more you're going to speak on this, the more people are going to think you're the devil. They're going to tell you that you're Satan, this and that, for even revealing this. Well, that's fine. Then I will be Satan for you, if that's the case. I still wanted to reveal it, because by understanding the power of your own mind, you'll be able to set yourself free, and that is what this is all about. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father, but by me. You see, your own imagination is the way, the truth, and the eternal life. You cannot come unto the Father but through that power, because that is what sets you free from the physical limitations of your life. Imagination is the realm of the afterlife already, in a certain extent. Currently, now that we're physically alive, we're using our imagination, generally speaking, for either simple goals that we physically would like to achieve. You can perceive an idea through your imagination that can manifest in time, space, reality. But when you are asleep, it's very closely related to dying, because the body isn't functioning in the same manner. Yes, your heart is still beating, etc., but your consciousness is perceiving and doing its own thing. That is ultimately what death is also going to be like for you. And the more you understand that power that is allowing you to do it, that power known as imagination, the more you'll be able to explore those realms consciously and with a purpose, the more you're trained in doing it. And then you'll have visions. I can tell you that. You can have visions of people who have long passed away. I've done it. And no, that's not satanic. That's not the devil at all. You could say it is. Of course you can. Everybody can say that. Oh, you're being misled by the devil, man. It's the devil, Satan, luring you straight to hell. No, not really. There is no being that has power over me unless I give consent. So why should I give consent to so-called Satan to drag me to hell? Instead, I bring in the light of my own consciousness, the power of my own consciousness. And that's what it's also about. That word, the light, because we actually didn't touch upon it, but you have the truth and the light. The light, don't you realize how all ancient texts have said that your consciousness is light? You are a child born in the light. Light means to shine wisdom upon the darkness of your own life itself. So the truth will be the light that sets you free. That's how you stop yourself from being dragged supposedly into hell. Because hell is the world of ignorance. That's where you don't feel good. You don't feel great. You feel bad. You don't know how to escape your own problems. But if you're filled with light, with the power of consciousness and wisdom, as it is being revealed to you through the visions given by God, by the universe, then you'll overcome your own ignorance and you can never enter into hell, or at least stay there forever. You can enter into hell, of course. To a certain extent, it has also been said and revealed that this physical life is in a way already a form of hell. Now we're going to develop the wisdom by developing the consciousness further and further, so that we can shine light upon all these areas of our lives in which we are ignorant, that cause us such misery and frustration and sadness and despair, because God has none of those things. So we're going to shine the light of God on it and save ourselves from sin, because the sin means to miss your mark in life, to not live up to the greatest good that you know inside of your consciousness. And that's how we set ourselves free. We set ourselves free by understanding this quotation, I'd say, from this angle of human imagination, by perceiving how we can actually individualize this power and use it to lift ourselves out of the mess that we find ourselves in. So that's all I wanted to share for now, but over time we're going to talk about more Bible stuff, because it's always fascinating. It can really help people. I've spoken to people who were raised as Christians, and at first they admitted, I've never really thought about these quotations from this angle, but the more I do so, the more it actually makes sense. And now, as they are doing that, the more blessed, you could say, their life is becoming, because everything is being lifted up out of this crap that they were stuck in. Yes, literally, they were stuck in negativity, even though they were Christians, because they didn't understand how to actually use the power that was revealed there for their own good. But by relating themselves to it more and more intimately from certain angles, they suddenly became able to lift themselves up out of their own ignorance and darkness and manifest greater and greater good for themselves and ultimately for everyone around them. That's what it means to be truly aware of these ancient spiritual powers and texts that are shared with humanity. Again, this is just my opinion. You may have a different opinion on the matter, which is totally fine. You're not obliged to follow what I just shared about it. You don't have to. That's alright. So why be upset over it? You just do your thing, I'll just do my own thing. Now with that being said, dear viewer, never forget that we are the dreamers.